Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. How are you doing this evening? Welcome to the Reseller Show. My name's Andy Lawrence.
And my name is Kev Massive Action Blackburn.
Welcome along to session number 44 of the Reseller Show. We're live, as usual, every Monday evening at 7 o'clock. It's great to have you along. So this evening, what are we going to be talking about? So we've got a few subjects we want to go through with you this evening. But as always, if you're joining us live, be sure to put your comments and your questions in the comments box, and we can answer your specific questions as we go along. Always happy to do that. So without further ado, why don't we get stuck in? How are you, Kev? How's your week been last week?
Outstanding, Andy. There's so many things are starting to come to reality. And that's the beauty of Q4, right? Q4 means everything you've been working on starts to become some type of result for you. You know, you reap what you sow. So all you guys, everyone that's been taking huge amounts of action all year, the rewards are coming, and Q4 is picking up. Like I said last week, the warehouse is busier than ever. We're shipping more than ever, and it's just starting to ramp up. I feel there's a real good vibe. There's a good energy coming along. So I'm super excited to talk about Q4 this evening.
Yeah, absolutely. It is going to be the main topic on most people's minds as we're moving in to make sure they've got everything covered and they're maximizing this period. It makes sense. It's a big time of year for us resellers. So absolutely. So if anyone has Q4 related questions or any questions in general, hit them in the comments below and we will get to them when we're ready to go. So who we got in the chat this evening? I can't get my live up for some reason. Are you able to see?
We have. Let me just check here. We've got Sean in. He says,
Hey.
"Boom, Sean's in. Sean's in." Evening, gents, from Darren. Good to see you, Darren. I hope you're doing amazing. It's great to see you both as everybody starts to sort of pile in. One of the things that we will sort out is the notification. But if you stick around about 7 o'clock on a Monday, it should become live. And you guys that are on the podcast and listening back on the podcast, we will get back into publishing every week there as well.
Absolutely, yeah. I think we're a bit behind with that. I must admit that's probably my failing. I need to catch up with that for sure.
Hey, it's just one of those things. We're all busy. It's all Q4. It's all guns ahead. So it's one of those things. But good to see you guys. Great to hang out with you guys as always on a Monday evening. So if you've got any questions about Q4, how's your Q4 preparation going? How are you guys getting on? Are you more busy? Are you purchasing more? Are you shipping more? How's things with you, Andy?
Very good. Yeah, it's all going well. So far, so good. The only difference is I should be abroad by now. Really, realistically, we're getting on very close to Q4, and I should have my trotters up by now at least. But it's not quite happened yet, so I'm gonna have to catch up. But it's coming. Yeah. It's coming. I won't be long. I'll be there any minute now. I'll get a few more loads shipped, get a few things sorted, and make the most. We've still got a little bit more sun. I think we've still got a little bit more summer to go. It's supposed to be 23 degrees down south on Thursday, which I'm looking forward to. So enjoy the last of the summer, get the last few bits done, and come Q4, don't you worry, Kev. Q4, I shall be out here and doing what I do best, which is lay on my back, doing very little.
Yeah, I love that, Andy. I absolutely love it. Everybody is busting a gut and Andy's there sat on a beach. I love it. Living the dream. Fantastic.
Absolutely. I do my best. But yeah, I've finally got onto the live stream. So let me see if I can catch up with the chat now. I don't know. It was very slow to update for me this evening, but let me see what we've got.
Yeah, we've got FBA UK in. Good to see you. Well done on the 10K last month, Sean. So Sean, he went over the 10K mark. Is that right, Sean?
Whoa.
Amazing news. We've been seeing it month after month. You know, it's great. The community that we have here, it's been an amazing year for all of us. The Sean, the Simons, Mark's in this evening, and I'm convinced every single week going forward at this point, we're going to have all these amazing sort of success stories. So Sean, he's surpassed 10K. So amazing. Great work.
Great work. Really proud of you, Sean. You're doing amazing work, and that momentum that you're putting into your business, and all the sacrifices that you're doing over the last year or so is now paying off. So, yep, you're reaping the rewards. So it's great to see.
Absolutely. You guys will have to just let me know in the quick chat. Just a quick question: am I blurry, or I'm look blurry to me?
You do look blurry from this side. I just wonder whether it was my tired eyes, but you do look a bit blurry from over here. You sound absolutely fine, but
Good.
But it is a little bit blurry. So here we got Simon's in as well. Good evening, Simon. Good to see you. Mark's in as well. How you doing, Mark? Good to see. Sean's, yes, went over 10K in sales in August. 4,000 gross profit. 2,000 plus profit after expenses, and 719 a month low wage. Yeah, absolutely. Good to see. Good to see, Sean. It's just working well. It's all going to plan. So good for you.
Okay. Yeah, so I'm just gonna be a bit blurry this evening, guys. Yeah. I do apologise. It's blurry, okay. Sound is fine. It's you don't want to see my ugly face anyway.
I look forward to it, Kev. Every month, every week, I look forward to seeing your beautiful boat race. So it's a shame, but never mind. We will persevere with technology as we always do on the Reseller Show. Never let technology stand in our way of a slightly interrupted Reseller Show, but we'll do our best as always.
Yeah, no problem whatsoever. So I put a post out earlier on in the Facebook group. So you guys that are not in the Facebook group, please do get yourselves in the Facebook group, because for you guys that have got any questions and topics that you may not be able to attend live, and you may have a question that you want to get covered. So I put a post out, and Jerry, there's a number of guys that put a number of questions there, but Jerry mentioned, and I thought we'll just hit this right off the bat, Andy, about this email that Amazon have been sending out the last sort of week about important information about toy products. So we got an email saying something like, we are contacting you, and I don't have it up on front of me right now, but we are contacting you regarding a screening program, some safety compliance, and would you be able to send some certification for these particular products that are on this email by the 27th of September? Is everybody got this? Is it just a select few? I would love to know how wide this is. Is everybody sort of getting these things? And have you received anything, Andy?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know. I haven't seen it, but I must admit I haven't been on top of my emails. I haven't done my admin this week yet to double check those sort of things. I usually have a peruse at some point. I haven't done so yet, so it might be in there. It might not. I couldn't tell you for sure. Simon's had one. Good to know, Simon. Anyone else, shout us out in the chat just to see if we can gauge whether everyone's getting them or whether it is isolated people. So a document of conformity, I believe, is what you mentioned, Kev, is the document we need. John hasn't had one. So the document of conformity is usually, it makes sense for imported products, because it basically states that there are a minimum set of safety standards that the product adheres to. Now, with retail products, it would be surprising when I say retail products, so the standard UK products that you see in the shops, it'd be surprising that Amazon's asking for that, because, it should be a very well documented item. Now, it might just be, as you mentioned earlier, Kev, that there's been specific feedback on certain products that people have complained about, maybe some issues with quality, and then that just triggers an automatic check to make sure that there is a proper DOC for that item, or maybe it's a random thing to make sure that all this documents are in place. Yeah, we don't know yet. We'll have to just see. But it seems weird because if you're buying arbitrage, you won't have access to document of conformity. But if you're buying wholesale, you probably would. You could get in touch with a wholesaler and they should be able to lay their hands on any paperwork you need, like safety certificates and DOCs and things like that. It's not something they would send you, but it's something that you can ask for and they can then go further down the line, and that should be on file for them to be able to get hold of. Now, obviously, retail might be a slightly different thing. I'll never say never. You might be able to email the manufacturer directly and say, could I see a copy of your DOC, and then get it that way. But it's a non-standard route, shall we say. So I don't know. We'll just have to see how that all pans out and how how Amazon is interpreting it. We'll see how that goes. What else have we got in the comments here? Yes, Sean has had one. And Naughty Andy not checking his emails. Yeah, absolutely. Slap on the wrist for me. If Amazon email about products we should remove, etc. Absolutely. Yep, that's true. Trust me, if there was a red flag of death on there, I would be on it straight away. Only found mine today, went into spam box from completely new Amazon address. Okay, that's interesting. Simon. Yeah, what'd you say, Kev?
I was just my screen just flickered, so you can still hear me, right?
Yep, hear you, see you, slightly blurry, but you're still coming through.
Brilliant, yeah. So when I got this email, one of the things, I'll just give you guys a quick story about when I was at the Steelworks. So being a part of the Steelworks, it's obviously it's a big place, right? They've got to comply to many different regulations, laws. They've got to be seen as a company to maintain specific standards. And the thing is, Amazon is at a point now where they're going to have a lot of legislation put upon them, like for insurance purposes, making sure that they're managing their business in the right way. And one of the things at the Steelworks, especially when it comes to a lot of the sort of dangerous plants, and you're dealing with like chemicals and gases and things like that, they used to come out with specific sort of compliance checks, like screens, like Amazon call it a screening program, right? So basically what it was, they would say things like, could you please give us the documentation for the last 6 months worth of maintenance on this particular item? Do you know what I mean? Just to confirm and just to spot check, just to tick that box saying that things are being done correctly. So I think maybe what's happening at Amazon is they may potentially be going through a scenario of they just want to screen things, like they call it screening. They just want to verify that things on their website are compliant to some type of legislation, like the safety laws, and making sure that their products are up to standard. So what they're doing is probably everybody that's got those particular ASINs, it might be a spot check. For tonight, some people have had these emails, some people haven't, which tells me they've probably picked out a random selection of, like, I don't know, 1,000 different products, and then whoever's on those 1,000 different products, here's your email saying, could you please provide that document? Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. That could well be what it is. It does sound so far like it's sticking to the toy category. Simon had a product that was a toy. I think you had a product that was a toy. So it does seem to be on the toy category at the moment. John hasn't had one. So it's not everybody. It's not just a blanket email. It's product specific. It may well be a generic thing. But what's interesting, Simon mentioned that he got an email for a toy that he's been trying to offload for ages, but Amazon are hogging the buy box. So Amazon's on the listing, but they're asking other people for document of conformity. Now, if Amazon are selling it themselves, surely they would already have access to the DOC for that product, and they're asking other people for it. So that seems weird as well, which makes me think it's even more just an automated random check rather than something that they actually want. Maybe they're just fulfilling an obligation to make sure. Maybe there's been questions about how are you ensuring safety on your products, and the answer to that is to summarily send out some requests for that type of thing. So yeah, it's
I
I'm
think
not sure yet.
Yeah, it's hard to say really what is happening here, but what I would say is there's a couple of lessons to be learned. One, make sure everybody checks your emails, because if you get any emails from Amazon and you don't take any type of action, you could end up having some type of negative impact in your business if you don't check your emails, and then you one day wake up and you've got all these inactive listings, and then you're like, what's going on here? And you realize that you got an email 3-4 weeks ago saying take this action, and you didn't. So that's one thing that we could definitely learn. Another thing is I think you do get to a point in your business where I think there's a lesson to be learned for all of us building businesses, that spot checks or some type of screening or quality check, whatever you want to call it, it's some type of system where you are verifying conformity to something. Okay, so and I guess an example in our businesses would be something like, and this is something that I personally do in my business, if one of my senior assistants has reviewed a product and said that it's a winner, okay, and then the next product they reviewed and it said it's a loser, we will spot check to make sure that they're up to, like, the quality is right. So they've checked whatever that product was as a winner, is it actually a winner? Do you see what I mean? You're doing like a quality control check. And and I think that can, once you start to build your business, I think that's a good practice to adopt, really. Like any type of spot check, screening, compliance check, quality control, anything that you can put into your business that can verify performance for you. And Amazon are just doing it at a government global scale.
Yeah, it sounds familiar. And John was just saying, wasn't there recently some news from the US about government making Amazon more responsible for the goods that are sold on their platform? Is this a response to this? Could well be. It could well be. We've seen a few different moves from Amazon that sounds like it's in line with, we better just make sure everything's in order here type of thing. And it could well be just putting in place certain checks like that just to make sure, because if they don't ask ever, then there's a good chance there's going to be some items that, especially imported private label items, that probably aren't up to safety standards. Now, obviously, people are going to be in hot water if there is any issue with them, but it's also Amazon's responsibility just to check these things. And obviously it's hard to tell. It's hard to tell which is imported and branded and which is a mainstream product. So maybe it's just something they have to use an algorithm for and just check. It's interesting it's toys, though, because obviously that would be mostly affected from a safety point of view, and mostly important to make sure that they come up to a decent safety standard. So we'll have to see. Yeah, Luke says, "Hey, evening, Luke." He says they're targeting the wrong sellers, in my opinion. I agree. It's not going to be the mainstream toy retail stuff is never going to be the issue. It's going to be the private label sellers that are bringing in all sorts of tat and rebranding it, and they're the ones that aren't going to have any DOCs, aren't going to have any safety certifications, and are the ones that are going to be a risk and a health hazard. So that's what I was just saying, Luke. How do they differentiate on an algorithm level? It's very hard to tell when something is someone they've branded themselves or something that they're reselling from wholesale or arbitrage. So yeah, it's going to be a tricky one.
Yeah, Simon just said, what did I do about the email that I got? And what we're doing is, I've got Steve. So one of the things that I did this year, I introduced Steve, who's looking after my Amazon business and continuing to grow it, right? So he's the person who looks after the critical things. So what we're doing at the minute is the ASINs that were on this email, we're going to look at exactly where we purchased them from, and then just speak to the suppliers and say, can you provide, because anything that anywhere that you sell things from, like Andy's mentioned, you should be able to get the documentation from them. So that's all we're going to do, and sort of take it from there, really. A part of this ASINs, they would, I don't know, but if they've just selected a random group of ASINs and then it's out to God knows how many sellers, then one of the things that's great about Amazon, you may have somebody take an action and send the documentation so you don't ever have to send it. That could happen, but it's quite difficult to really understand what Amazon are doing. And like Luke said, good to see you, Luke. They're targeting the wrong sellers for sure.
Yeah. Be interesting to see how that goes. But it's not beyond Amazon to do a knee-jerk reaction, send it to someone who says, "Oh, we'll just do this," sends out a massive sporadic email campaign, and then they can wash their hands of it and say, "We're doing something now. We said we do something, so we're doing something. So get off our backs." And
do you remember the infamous email saying that toys are now gated?
Yes. Followed by, not really. we just thought about it, but now we're not going to do it. Email. Yeah. They're good at that sometimes. So it could be just to get people off their back. They've farmed it out to some middle ranking employee, and that's the best they've come up with. And they might just file them and never look at them and not do anything. But it still means you have to take action. If they've requested something from you, you still have to do something about it at least. So let's see how that develops. John, what's John saying? I know that in one of the groups, a new seller the other day was asking questions about importing pie face games from China in bulk. Yes, that new seller is a key word there. And importing from China is another one. But they're on a high dip. They're on a sticky wicket there, John. Hopefully someone jumped in and put them right that you're not going to get anything from China in that direction that is anywhere near real. So it's bound to be fake. So that is the trouble. We did have a pie face scare. When was it? Year before last, where some people were reporting some issues with the pie face game, and I think some non-standard games got into the supply chain somewhere, and they were recalibrating everyone's and they suspended it for a little while. But these things can happen, and maybe that's the whole thing, is to just double check to see where they're coming from to make sure that, they've got the correct documentation. So
100%. Definitely, totally agree. Kev said, starting 1st of October 2019, the partner courier program is reducing its rates by 14%. Woohoo!
Well, let's see. You see, I'm just a bit. I'm forget them. I can't place the word, but I'm a little bit punch drunk from Amazon, because I look at that and I say, oh, great. If they're reducing rates by 14%, what are they increasing? Because usually they reduce something and then in the background increase something else. So,
yeah, that's the reality with Amazon. You've got to be, whenever they, and that in itself, I think we need to touch on this, right? This is a big problem for Amazon. I really do think that it's a significant problem. If they're not careful, it could one day, and I don't know when, it could bite them in the ass big time. If they're at a point where you've got sellers like me and you that are seeing like good news, like partnered courier program is reducing rates, so they're like, oh, this is great for sellers, and we're skeptical, and we're like, but what else is there? What else? There's going to come a time. What are they not saying? And that, when you think about it, that when it comes to a relationship from they need us. They need us as sellers. We are their business. I know they've got a big business. They've got a big ass business, but a part of their business is their third party sellers, the third party partners like us, right? So if we are, there's going to come a time where something's going to occur where we are going to, in some way, there's an opportunity for another platform, something else to. Do you see what I'm saying? It's like a rot. It's a real worry for Amazon long term. If I was if I was a part of Amazon, I would be very concerned that you've got people like me and you and all of us that are always quite skeptical about what they say.
Yep. Yeah, no, it's right. And it does feel like Amazon are going in that direction where they want third party sellers to be a bigger part of the business. And there may be at some point be a situation where, they are just the marketplace and they come out of it altogether, in which case they really have to make sure that they look after the third party sellers because, yeah, as you say, if something else comes along and we're only utilizing Amazon, we don't have any love for them, we're utilizing them from what we can get out of them in a business relationship, but we're always skeptical, we're always looking to see what the next fire it is that we're going to have to put out, then I will have no hesitation in moving my business, just like I did the bulk of my business from eBay to Amazon. I'm ready and willing to move it once again to another platform if it shows itself as being a viable option that is competing with and or outstripping Amazon. So they do have to be careful, because I think a lot of other large sellers and professional sellers will have the same mindset. You make use of Amazon, but you know full well they ultimately are out in it for themselves, and they will cut you down as soon as look at you. So you have to be aware of that, and they need to make sure that they look after us, because if that happened, suddenly they'd be pretty lonely. But who knows? We'll just have to see, I guess. But Luke made a good point. He said, I think UPS are reacting to Amazon logistics. So that's a good shout. Actually, it might be that it's a UPS thing rather than an Amazon thing. UPS might have introduced that and just said, we're going to bring the price down by that much, because, Amazon are sort of sorting out their own courier network, in which case UPS are just contemplating their own demise and a massive share of their own business that could disappear if Amazon do something cheaper and more efficient. And obviously it's on their own platform, so they're going to make sure it's more efficient. So yeah, maybe they're getting ahead of the game. I don't know, but interesting thing.
Yeah, so there's only going to be a matter of time, and I think Kev's just mentioned in the chat here, there's only going to be a matter of time before Amazon they're already looking at their own logistics, and it must not make sense. It made sense for a long, long time for Amazon, like using UPS, because obviously they've already got the infrastructure there for picking up and scheduling collections and all the rest of it. But I'm convinced Amazon, the size that they're at, it's not going to be long before they're going to probably cut out UPS, I would imagine.
Yeah, I mean that could well be UPS trying to get ahead of things to steer that off. But ultimately, if Amazon want the business, they'll take it anyway, because they'll just make sure they can do it cheaper. Because ultimately, they could run that whole thing at a break even or even a loss leader if it suits them. So that UPS will struggle to compete with that if Amazon have uh, the infrastructure in place where they have enough vans and enough staff across the whole network. But yeah, that will be interesting to see. That may actually be something that works out as a bonus for us sellers. There may not be a downside in that respect, because it's just competition, and with competition brings ultimately lower prices. So if they're just competing against each other, maybe Amazon are just using it to keep UPS in check, because obviously if Amazon don't have any choice and UPS say we want more money, and Amazon say, okay, well, we'll just do what you're doing, and then they say, okay, no, not really, only joking. So who knows how that will go. But yeah, it could be just a benefit, and there may not be a downside. So hopefully that's the case.
Yeah, yeah, we'll see what the future holds. We'll see what the future holds. But isn't it exciting? Q4.
Yeah.
And I think we can just talk a little bit about Q4 now, then, shall we, Andy?
Yeah, absolutely. Why not? Let's if you've got any Q4 related questions, shoot them up and we'll get onto that. Just a couple of additional questions while I think of them here. Kev just mentioned at Hermes, when Amazon Logistics started, instantly overnight, I lost 20% of my daily deliveries. That's amazing that it had that much of an impact straight away. It's interesting, Kev. Thanks for sharing that. Simon says, aren't they also reducing the cost of removal orders as well? I wonder why they did reduce the cost of removal orders at the same time, putting up the cost of, what was it? Liquid. Which one was it? I think it was, they raised a rate at the same time as lowering a rate on that one, Simon, which is their usual trick. So I think they reduced removal, but if you wanted to liquidate your item, I think they raised that slightly as well. So rather than just getting rid of your stuff, now it's going to be cheaper to actually send it back, which is interesting. No, anyway, we're going to digress if we're not careful. Amazon don't put up.
Yeah, I think one thing I would say to us all right now, when it comes to UPS at Q4, they get really, really, really busy. UPS do, and we're shipping so much, and it's not just us as Amazon sellers that are shipping more. Like every other company out there, because there's obviously a big wide world out there away from Amazon. So one of the things that we've definitely experienced, like every year, is there's times where, because we are Amazon sellers, we are at the sort of the bottom of the UPS food chain. Like they've got their premium pickups, they've got other contracts, they've got maybe more highly valued customers. So we had scenarios over the years where, for example, they'll come to us and there's only half a van and we need a full van. That sort of scenario. So this is a great time. If you're getting UPS to come round to your house and pick things up, it's a great time to start really, I'm wondering what to call it, bribing your UPS drivers.
Building a relationship, Kev. Building a relationship.
That's it. Sorry, guys. This is the time to start thinking. Just start asking questions like, "So what's your favorite drink?" Or what's your favorite chocolate? And then start getting those chocolates out, and then you can start to put them where they can see them. So if they say, do you know what? I really fancy a nice celebrations from time to time. I get myself a nice box of celebrations. So we'll buy a box of celebrations and we'll have them at the shutter door just so they can start to see them.
Just sort of like that, that's nothing to do with you. We're just going to leave that there for a little while. Just put a bow on it, just to start focusing the mind. But yeah, it's I definitely have got a great relationship with my UPS guy. Not always sending stuff with UPS, but when I do, he's a really good guy. I've got his mobile number. I can, ask the odd favor, and he's happy to do it, which is nice. And if I've got a big load of stuff, then I can just say to him, it's important I get this lot away. Would you mind just hopping over here first before you get too full up? And he's happy to help me out when he can. And he knows that I look after him, and I make sure that he gets looked after at Christmas, and he gets a tip and everything. But I don't think he does it because of that. I think he does it because we've got a good relationship, and I always have a chat, see how he's getting on, how the family is, and just take the time to get to know him as a person, and that goes a long way, and have a laugh with him. And as soon as I message, he knows who I am, where I am, and if he can help out, then he usually does. So it's well worth taking the time to build that relationship. You generally get the same guy in your area, so it's worth investing the time, because you never know when you might need it.
100%. And we've been very fortunate to have a number of UPS drivers, some really nice guys. And just another quick story for you guys. We got so good of a friends with our last UPS driver. He used to come in and go, because he was our UPS driver when we first moved into the warehouse. So he used to start doing the pickups, and over the months, he'd see obviously us getting busier and busier, and we start to get furniture and shelves and things. And he always used to ask things like, God, like, what do you guys do? Like, what are you guys doing? Because it's like really interesting, and there's like lots of things going on all the time. You got products, you're shipping every day. And I had a great conversation with him once and building the relationship. And I was like, oh, do you know what? If you're interested in learning, I started to share with him like, yeah, we you do online arbitrage, so you can buy products low and sell them high. We use Amazon. He was like, that's really, really interesting, that. Anyway, cut a long story short, he because he was so nice, I thought, you know what? You can have 50% off my course if you want. So he was like, you've got a course? He was like, yeah. So he was like, nice one, I'll have it, right? So he got into the course. 3 months later, he quit his job and we lost him.
That's when when your courses work too well, I guess.
I know. I was like, what do you mean you're quitting your job? He was like, yeah, I've got my Amazon business now.
Excellent. That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
funny.
so from this point forward, we don't sell to our UPS drivers anymore.
Yeah. Just as well. Keep them as a useful UPS resource only. Yeah. So we've got some inside knowledge with Kev here as the resident Hermes driver. It says, hot tip: offer them a cold drink in the summer and a hot drink on the cold days. Absolutely. That's what I always try and do, because it gets really hot. And jumping in and out the van and stuff like that, I'm the first one to make sure I've got some cold drinks on hand, and just he's busy, so I'll throw him a cold Diet Coke or something and say, do you want a Diet Coke or something? Then he can grab it and drink it in the van on the way. And I think he appreciates that, because he doesn't have to stop. And then it's like, well, if I take a drink, I'm going to have to be nice and sit there and stand there and drink it. And I've got things to do. So throw him over a Diet Coke and say, mind how you go. And then it's, appreciate that. And same goes for a cup of tea. If you can lob it in a disposable cup and take it with him, that's even better. But just think about them. Think about these guys. They're instrumental in helping your business. So it's important to look after them, and then they'll look after you. So good stuff.
And the not just the UPS drivers, the delivery drivers as well.
Yeah.
You tend to have the same people come round every day. So it's one of those things where you cannot underestimate the power of building that relationship, even with your Like another quick story, when I was at home, like just the neighbors, because like there'll be some times where I'm at work and maybe the Kylie was out of the house. The neighbors were instrumental at that point, because they would accept your parcel, and then later on you'd go pick it up from your neighbors. So we used to buy them like a bottle of wine and things and say, thanks very much for helping us. And same here at the warehouse. Like if, for example, we've had a scenario where we've had somebody come to drop something off at like 7:00 at night, and we've got a great relationship with our next door warehouses, so they'll accept them. So you can't underestimate that rapport, really.
Yeah, it's human nature. If you take the time to get to know someone, and as Kev said, just get on first name basis, and just common decency goes a long way, and people appreciate that. And as Kev says, if he's pushed for collections and he's not got much time, you can guarantee he's going to be making sure that the people that are nice and give him tips and are generally nice people, he's going to make sure they get their stuff collected. But the rude, obnoxious people that always give him the hassle, if someone's going to miss out, you can be sure it's going to be them. So you get what you reap what you sow in these sort of situations. I think that's absolutely right. If you're a bit of a douchebag, then certainly you should be down the bottom of the list. So some people don't
100%.
realize how much damage they're doing in their life by sort of just generally being that type of person. So something to think about.
Definitely, but it's these little things. I say little things. It's those things that really allow you to build your business to be successful. Because without those key little things, it's very difficult to, for us, myself and you, Andy, who create videos to try helping as many people as we can out online. It's very difficult to put things like that into a video where we're talking about just sort of the common decency, the common, courtesy to build that relationship.
It's a good life lesson, Kev, to be honest with you. I mean, it should be something that we try and treat everyone to, just try and be nice to people, and people will generally be nice to you. As in the grand scheme of things, I think that works perfectly well. You don't always do things to directly get something back, but I think it's definitely a good shout that if you generally try and do a nice thing for someone, look after people, be a nice person, then it certainly comes back. And if nothing else, it makes you feel good. And you might have a slightly better day that day because you feel like you've done your bit and you've been a nice person. And if someone's struggling for change and you've got 20p in your purse or in your wallet, it's nice to be able to say, look, here you go, here's the 20p, and just help someone out from time to time. It's a good feeling. So it's worth doing.
Yeah. We've got Rocket Lols. You'll have to let us know what your name is, Rocket Lols. It's great to have you here. I think this may be the first. Is it the first time you may be watching the show? But Rocket Lols said, "Why the need for storage? Won't suppliers ship to the FBA warehouse?"
Yeah, that's it's the first time I think I've seen Rocket Lols in the group. So if it is, welcome along. Good to have you here, and keep the questions coming. Well, here's the thing with storage: is yes, I suppose you could get stuff sent directly. There may be a situation where that can happen, but certainly in my business, there is there's no real use to sending anything direct to Amazon. I need to store things because I don't send it all at once. I'm selling mainly wholesale, so I'm buying on bulk and I don't necessarily want it all in Amazon at the same time. Things I want to hold and send in at different times. Other things just aren't appropriate. You need to prioritize what's going in over other stuff. So it's generally, for me, it's much easier to buy ahead of time for different periods, buying deals, buying lots, and buying opportunities when they're available to send in at different times and different moments and different things. So it's not really something, it's a headline thing that you hear a lot of time, but it's not really a viable thing in the practical scheme of things. Have you ever tried that, Kev?
Well, no. I mean, it all really depends on the business model that you are building on Amazon. So if it's private label, then you do have the ability to, if you've got a supplier out in China or here in the UK or the US that are, they're supplying you with a private label product, you do have the ability to put the Amazon barcode onto your product. As in, you don't just put a normal product barcode on it. You can put actually your FS, whatever the label is, the Amazon barcode. That's it, yeah. So you can just get your supplier to put that onto the packaging, and then you can get your supplier to ship directly to Amazon's fulfillment centers by creating the shipment as you would here, right? So you can do that. And people do that, like when you think of, you've seen these videos of people having this laptop lifestyle and they're on a beach and they're like, build your Amazon business and look at my Ferrari and all these things. And, they're saying it's completely hands off. And you can have a scenario if you're using private label where they can ship directly to Amazon's fulfillment centers. Yeah. But that's private label. When we start talking about wholesale or online arbitrage or retail arbitrage, what you're essentially doing is you are purchasing from a supplier, whether it's wholesale or a retail store, or you're going around stores, or you may be even at book. You may be selling books. So what you have to do is you're preparing them for Amazon. So you're either you've got two options. You either ship them to Amazon for them to do the preparation, which I don't recommend. So don't do that. Or you do the preparation yourself. So you're maybe bubble wrapping, you're maybe bagging, you're labeling, you're maybe taping. There's a whole wide scenario that you may need to prepare your products, because Amazon, they want products being delivered in ready to sell condition. So if something needs bubble wrapping, they want you to bubble wrap it and then put the label on. So you need an area, you need a space for that. And that's why we've got like warehouses, People are in their living rooms, bedrooms, hallways, everywhere. And that's ultimately why you would need storage, if you like.
Yeah, and absolutely hit the nail on the head there, Kev. And also, Rocket Lols, the other thing to remember is even if you've got that relationship with a supplier, I do have probably a couple of suppliers which I have enough of a relationship where I could ask them to do that. But if someone's going directly, but it's going into your account, you have no control over the quality of the item, the condition of the item, but it has a direct effect on your account. So especially if something's coming from the Far East, then you've got no way of checking quality. You've got no way of checking anything that's going in there, but that has a direct effect on your account. So it's a control thing as well. It's very unlikely or very unusual where that scenario will work, because yes, it's something that is advertised as a headline thing, as Kev has said, as to make a very easy live picture of the process, but that's very unoften where you could actually make that work effectively. And I'd much rather keep control of the items, make sure the quality is right, because I've had tons of stuff turn up that is crushed within an inch of its life. I wouldn't even think about sending into Amazon if that was coming in from directly from the supplier into Amazon. I'd never even see that, and I'd get all sorts of issues potentially. And if Amazon don't pick it up and it ends up at the customer, then I'm going to get potentially bad feedback and all sorts of stuff. So I want to keep control of that, even if I wasn't looking to hold on to stuff and ship in small amounts later on. So yeah, generally not a good idea, but I think you pretty much summed that up pretty well, Kev. You explained it very well.
Yeah, thanks for that, Andy. I appreciate that. Yeah, I'm just having a quick look in the group here. We also had, just for information, we had a great post from Mark Hawley earlier, who he attached a PDF for us. Basically, this, and I haven't looked at this PDF, but it's something to do with accounting. This EORI, this something to do with Mythbuster PDF. So make sure you jump into the Facebook group and check out that PDF. Great. We need to get Mark on, actually. Mark, if you don't know, he's the owner of, the founder of Passive Tax, I believe it is, accountant. Huge, great experience in the Amazon world that we live in. It's a very complex accounting world, and Mark is definitely, in my opinion, and I haven't heard anybody else really in this sort of space, he's probably the leading accountant when it comes to Amazon in the UK. So if you've got any questions, he's the man to go to. And we also had Steve, and I think Steve just posted in the chat as well. Yeah, Steve mentioned earlier on in the group saying, I see a lot of gurus recommend that you permanently delete FN SKUs in your inventory once you've sold out. Does this not also cause them to also disappear from any historical report that you may want to run in the future? And what about returns? So how do you manage your inventory, Andy? Do you delete things? Do you keep things? What do you do?
Yeah, I've done both over the years, to be honest with you. And I generally used to keep things if I wanted to go back to it, and maybe I might be able to get access to something. But to be honest with you, I periodically delete the listings, because I think there's pluses and minuses for both. There's always going to be the case, but I think there's more minuses to keeping them hanging around, especially if you're dealing with volume on listings. You're going to get into a situation where something is going to bite you in the butt, and it would be unnecessary if you just deleted your listings as you went along. So that's the conclusion I've made. Everyone's got to make their own decisions on that one. But in terms of trying to keep things as ship shape and Bristol fashion as possible, then these days I've chosen to delete as I go along. You might sacrifice potential long-term reporting further down the line, which may be the case, but that is a small price compared to potentially getting listing violations when you haven't even got the product. So what are you saying about that one, Kev?
Yeah, I would agree. There's pros and cons either side. I don't think there's any right or wrong. there's a huge con when we think about what Andy just mentioned about potentially later on in the future getting some type of restricted product warning, or even worse, something even worse could happen and you haven't even got the product, or you're not even selling the product. So that's a huge thing to think about. But it's completely up to yourself. We've done different things over the past to cover the question part of does it delete things, the historical reports. I don't believe, like, if let's say you've sold something, it should not delete that sale from your reports from the sales. It's not going to delete that, because it can't do, because especially when you are, if you think about it, that would be amazing if it did, because if you think about it, you would be able to go, like, when you're doing your VAT returns, you'd be like, well, no, I didn't sell anything.
Didn't exist. Never happened.
It never happened, because I would just, if I'm not selling those items anymore, I would just delete everything. But
yeah,
it's a great question, Steve, and it's definitely something that there is pros and cons. But if you're ever worried about maybe does it delete anything, it shouldn't do. Like, if you sell those products, you should always be able to see that in your account that you sold them during that time. And if you ever find out that something has been deleted, then you want to definitely sort of mention that to Amazon, because you need that information.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I don't think you'll have any issues with sales reports, that's for sure, Steve. But I don't know, in terms of, historical stock reporting, there may be a report where it alters. But like I said, if there is, I'd much rather just use an alternative report, use the sales history, and any of those type of reports that are always going to be right compared to what you're going to get from the benefits of keeping things straight and narrow. Because I have in the past had issues with things coming up when I used to keep all my history, and things would come up, and Amazon have flagged things for something that I've sold over 12 months ago, and I've got coming up with potential IP violations and things like this, and could all be resolved if it was deleted from the stock inventory, and I'd no intention of selling them again. So it's something. It's the best way for me. But like I said, we're here to try and offer advice. We're not telling you do this or do that, because you have to make your own decisions, your own business, and that is ultimately the best way to do it.
Hey, Rocket Lol said it's Charlie.
Charlie.
I mean, I nearly guessed Charlie. I'm not going to lie. I was thinking Rocket Lols must be called Charlie. Only kidding.
That's impressive. If so, can I have the lottery numbers, Kev, before we finish? Because that would be quite impressive.
Yeah, only kidding. It's great to have you here, Charlie. Saying thanks for the detailed reply. Been lurking for a long time, but not posting. I'm looking at products that don't require prep. I thought video games, small domestic appliances. So it's great that you've been hanging around for some time. Get yourself involved. Anytime you've got any questions, or you just fancy a little bit of banter, you know where to come on a Monday evening.
Yeah, it's always handy to have a name to a face. So thanks for giving us a shout, and thanks for being here. Thanks for lurking all the same. I'm sure there are other lurkers that don't get involved, but if you are a lurker, just say hi at the beginning. It's always nice to see some people that tune in and come and listen in, even if you're doing some prep work or doing some admin in the background. That's all good, because that's what it's just about here as a community, and if we can be of help, then that's what it's all about. So yeah, good to have
Where's
you.
my massive action lurkers at? Where you at?
Dear.
Show yourselves.
Make some noise.
Yeah. Make some noise. Oh god.
Yeah, lurker crew. Right. On that bombshell, was it 52 minutes? We've done another hour, Kev, and all we've been doing is chatting about stuff that's coming up in the chat. So that's good. That's another one.
Yeah, that's another one. We're episode 44. we are coming up towards our 1 year anniversary,
Yeah,
which
52,
is, I
yeah.
believe, in some point in November. I think we'll check out the dates. But let us know if you are one. Are you coming to the live reseller show here on the 30th of November? In the warehouse, myself and Andy, we're going to have a live reseller show, a special. If you come in, let us know. And also, what do you think we should do for our 1 year anniversary? What should we
Absolutely.
do? Should we have some type of? Should we get some sausage rolls? Should we eat some sausage rolls?
I think there should definitely be sausage rolls should be involved somewhere. I think it's just the right thing to happen. By the time it gets to November, I think people will be all over the sausage rolls. So that should definitely be there. That
Yeah.
is, a good one. Sean, I think that came from Sean. Strippers. All right, Kev, easy. Paint strippers. Yeah, we're thinking about paint strippers. That's a good,
Yeah. I'll
good
leave
one to
that
go
one with Andy. Andy will sort that out.
Oh dear. On that note, John says, learn something new every time. It's like my CPD. Thanks, guys. Have a good weekend, everyone. Always good to have you on board, John.
Yeah,
Yes,
absolutely.
on the
I love
yeah.
it. I love it. Thanks, guys, for hanging out with us for another episode of the Resale Show. If we would just request a couple of things for you guys, hit that like button. Really, really appreciate all those likes. If you want to support us in any way, you can do by sharing any of the videos or any of the podcasts, reviewing the podcast. If you're at this point and you listen to the podcast, please do review us. It allows us to reach more and more people, and get yourself involved in the Facebook group. If you've got any questions whatsoever, if you just put them into Facebook group, we will definitely look back on the Facebook group and make sure that we answer your questions. So really enjoyed this one, Andy. It's been very enjoyable.
Absolutely, as always, Kev. Good to hang out with you once again and hang out with you guys as well. So, take care. Have a good week. Have a profitable week. Take massive action, as Sean says, as always. And we'll catch you same bat time, same bat channel. Bye for now.
See you later.